So recently, a social media follower reached out and she wanted to know strategies that she could deploy to start paying down her debt in order to have more disposable income to invest and to build wealth. So, we're doing just that on this episode of the Wealth Nation podcast, Debt Repayment Strategies.
Welcome to the Wealth Nation podcast, a podcast for every mother, daughter, grandmother, sister, and wife, and the men who are smart enough to tune in. The Wealth Nation podcast brings you all you need to know about investments, business, property investments, personal finance, and all around financial wellness. Here is your host, Yolanda Rose.
Welcome to another episode of the Wealth Nation podcast. We're at episode number 70 something. Or is it the early 80s? I can't recall at this point, but we've been going for almost a year and a half now. And I hope that with this podcast, I was able to give you some insight into the financial world in South Africa. And if it's the first time that you're listening, welcome to the Wealth Nation podcast. I am Yolanda. I'm a financial advisor and a wealth coach. And it is my goal on this podcast to give you easy, actionable tips, content, and strategies that you can use to manage your money well and to build generational wealth. So if you're new here, please subscribe. Also, link up with us on our social media platforms, Financially Fabulous Females. The Wealth Nation podcast is sponsored by Audible. Audible is a seller and producer of spoken audio entertainment, information, and educational programming on the internet. Audible sells digital audiobooks, radio and TV programs, and audio versions of magazines and newspapers. For a 30-day free trial of Audible, go to www.financiallyfabulousfemales.com/audible. Now, I know that there are many folks out there that are in the debt trap and we're struggling to catch up with our debt payments. The cost of living is increasing, the bills are going up, and you can feel like everything is closing in. Well, today I want to give you a couple of strategies that you can use to start paying down that debt. And specifically, we'll talk about credit cards and other consumer debt that we've come across. The four-letter word that begins with D, and I know what you're thinking, but I'm actually referring to debt. Now, when these things get out of control, and it can be from whatever, just daily living expenses, an unexpected medical bill, just bad planning or unexpected emergencies, it can really become an albatross that affects you emotionally and physically, and even with your relationships as well. I mean, so many marriages break down solely for the reason of finances, mismanaged finances. So I know it might feel overwhelming, but you can tackle it in some way or another. You need to start doing it one step at a time. So today we're going to give you a little guide, a quick guide on how you can start paying off debt. And we'll look at credit cards and the various other sorts of consumer debt as well. And I know it might seem impossible, but it can be done. It's a slow start. It's a very slow start, but it's baby steps. Every month it's baby steps, and every 50 rand helps. So we're going to start by learning what debt can do to your credit rating and why credit card debt can be particularly damaging. So how does debt affect your credit scores? Now, the first thing that I want you to understand is that debt has a ripple effect across your entire financial life, and this includes your credit score. If you don't know what your credit score is, I want you to go check out clearscore.com. It's a free service. Now, in South Africa, we're all allowed to have one credit report done every month. That's the detailed report. But when you go to a platform like ClearScore, they give you a nice breakdown on your payment history, what you're actually paying down, what your long-term debt is, your short-term debt is. They give you a timeline. They'll give you a score out of 705, and you'll see how you rate with the average South African, with people in your community. But go and sign up. If you haven't done it already, go and sign up, put in your ID number, and all of your information pulls through. I mean, your private, it is quite secure as you can get on the internet, and you know what goes on the internet. But it's a nice platform, and it's a nice way to keep track that every 30 days this information is updated, and you will see how late a late payment affects your credit rating, how 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 having multiple cards, increased credit utilization, it all just piles up and affects you negatively. Now, if you're not looking at it constantly, you don't really know. So go to clearscore.com, sign up, and look at it regularly. I'm guilty of looking at this at least once a week. And it only gets updated once a month. I'm obsessive like that, but it helps me keep on track. You know, if that temptation comes along, I'm thinking about this credit score. If you kind of anal like me, it will bother you as well when you try to spend, and this the score is at the back of your head. All right, so go and check that out. That's clearscore.com.
Raising financially savvy children involves teaching them a variety of skills, from budgeting to planning to earning and saving. Besides giving them an understanding of the value of a rand, it prepares them for real-world finances. Financial literacy is a vital skill, and it is never too early to teach your kids about money. Many parents wonder how they can teach their kids about money and where to find age-appropriate resources. You can now purchase the Financial Literacy for Kids workbook, which is aimed at primary school kids. It's now available at www.financiallyfabulousfemales.com. This workbook provides you with 12 lessons, activities, lesson plans, discussion points, and quizzes that you can use to test your kids' knowledge. Shop now at www.financiallyfabulousfemales.com.
Make sure you never miss a show by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Tuned In. Now back to the show.
So there are two types of debt. It's revolving debt and we have installment debt. Now, revolving debt comes from your credit cards, and this is something that carries over or revolves, and that balance revolves every month. And you can borrow as much money as you like at a predetermined level, of course, and the interest rates are subject to change. So, your monthly payment may vary on revolving debt depending on how much you currently owe. So, when it comes to installment debt, now these come in the form of a mortgage bond, car loans, personal loans. And in most cases, the amount of money you borrow, the interest rate, and the size of your monthly payment is sort of fixed. Now, both these types of debt, you must make payments on time. So, when you miss a payment, your lender could report it to the credit bureau or to a platform like ClearScore, which which actually pulls in information from Experian, another credit bureau. And this kind of stays on your credit reports. I'm not quite sure how long. I think it's about 10 years or so, but this stays on your credit report that you're late on your payments. And when it comes to a significant purchase, maybe your first property or even an additional property, all of these late payments come up and it affects you negatively. And you'd also, when you make those late payments, you have to pay the late fees, which won't really impact your credit scores, but it can be a pain nonetheless. So, aside from your payment history, the way each type of debt affects your credit is quite different. So, with installment debt, like your car payments, having a high balance doesn't have a big impact on your credit. But with revolving debt, it's completely different. And when you go onto clearscore.com, you will see your credit utilization on your short term or credit cards. And they'll tell you not to exceed 50% of your credit card utilization because this affects you negatively. To maintain a good credit, you must keep your balances as low as possible. ClearScore recommends less than 50% of your credit utilization. I recommend paying off your credit card at the end of the month. Don't spend more than you can afford to. The credit card gives you that security feature. Like you can just purchase, especially things like airline tickets, travel tickets. You have that security there. A portion of it is insured, and all of the various loyalty programs. But you shouldn't see it as credit. Just see it as your own digital money. If you're earning 30,000 Rand a month, you shouldn't be spending 40,000 Rand a month on your credit card. You need to be in a space where you can pay off the installment balance every month. So you can't overspend. So I'm sure by now you are ready to pay off your debt. So the first thing that you should do is create a debt payoff plan. Now, if you only have one debt, your strategy is basically simple. Make the biggest monthly payment you can handle and do the same every month until it's gone. But if you're like most people, you have multiple accounts to manage in this situation, and you need to find the debt elimination method that would work best for you. A lot of folks use the debt snowball strategy or the debt avalanche strategy. We'll talk about this in a minute. But you also have other ways or other strategies you can use, like a balance transfer, personal loans, and bankruptcy, or even debt counseling here in South Africa. I personally like the debt avalanche method. With this kind of strategy, you want to pay off your accounts from the highest interest rate to the lowest. This is the strategy that I use. Now it's not suited to everybody. If you're really driven and anal like me, this would work for you. So what you do here is you make the minimum payments on all your debt. Okay, you put as much extra money as you can towards the debt that has the highest interest rate. So once the debt with the highest interest rate is paid off, start paying as much as you can on the account with the next highest interest rate. So once you paid off that high interest rate, that portion will go to your second highest interest rate, including the minimum payment as well. So you're really paying down this debt. So you continue the process and you move down the various debt levels till you at one, and that's how you do it. And every time you pay off a debt account, you free up more money each month you put towards the next debt. And since you're stacking your debts in order of interest rate, you'll pay less overall and you will get out of debt faster. Like an avalanche, it might take a while before you see anything happen. Like I said at the beginning when we started this episode, it's a slow, long process, but it with work, you can get there. And once the momentum starts going with the avalanche method, um, you will see such a huge difference. The start is slow, but around 30% of the way, your journey, in your debt paying journey, you will see the results that you want to see. Now, I want you to look out for this week's episode on our YouTube channel. I'm going to give you a complete demonstration of this method. I'll also give you a free template that you can download. That's happening this week, Thursday, on our YouTube channel, Financially Fabulous Females. Now, the debt avalanche will help you pay less interest and you'll get out of debt a lot faster than you would with any other strategy. You'll also have the nice, satisfying feeling of seeing the highest interest rate disappear. So I think that's why for me the debt avalanche is recommended, because you're paying less overall. The downside of this method is that it takes longer to see progress than with a method like the debt snowball method. So if you're counting on some small wins to get you motivated, that's when the debt snowball comes into play. That would be a better fit for you. But if you really want to save money and you're willing to do the work in the beginning without seeing really any kind of result right now, but you know that result is coming, the debt avalanche is for you. So how the debt snowball works is that you make minimum payments on all your accounts. You put as much extra money as you possibly can to the account with the smallest balance. So it doesn't matter about the interest rates at this point. We're just looking at the outstanding amount. And once the smallest debt is paid off, you take that same installment, you put it to your next smallest debt, including the minimum payment on that. And you continue this process until all your debt is paid. Now, a lot of people like this method because they're seeing quick wins. And that quick wins is what motivates them to really, really crack down on their debt repayment strategy. There's also a potential to improve your credit scores more quickly with the debt snowball method as you lower your credit utilization on individual credit cards sooner and reduce your number of accounts with outstanding balances. Now, with this approach, you aim at the low balances. And it doesn't matter. The interest rates just don't matter. And once that's paid off, you focus on the debt with the next smallest balance. Think of a snowball rolling down the ground. As it gets bigger, it can pick up a lot more snow. With every revolution, it's picking up more and more momentum, more and more snow. So each conquered balance gives you more money to help you pay off the next one more quickly. So when you pay off your smallest debt first, those paid off accounts build up your motivation to keep paying off debt. The debt snowball can be a really good fit for you if you have several small debts to pay off, or if you need the motivation to pay off debt. It might also be a good approach if you owe outstanding balances on multiple credit cards as well, but you can't really qualify for the balance transfer credit card or the low interest personal loan to consolidate your revolving debt. So, when you are facing an overwhelming amount of debt, this method lets you see progress as quickly as possible. By getting rid of the smallest, easiest balances first, you can get that account out of your mind. And by reducing the number of accounts with outstanding balances, your credit report improves, your score improves. Well, there is a downside to this method as well. You might be paying a lot more over time compared to the avalanche, mainly because you're not interested in the interest rate at this point. So you could end up paying higher interest accounts later, and the extra time will cost you more in interest. So here's a bonus tip for you here. So while the debt snowball and the avalanche are two overreaching strategies on how far your debt payoff is, there are specific techniques that you can use in conjunction with them, like the balance transfer method. Now, when you have credit card debt, you do have the option to transfer your debt to an alternative credit card, a credit card that has a lower interest rate that will help you pay off that credit card a lot sooner because the interest rates are lower. So the lower interest rate balance credit card fits well with the avalanche method, since you can use a balance transfer to strategically reduce the interest rate on your highest interest debt. But it can be time for you to focus on the next highest account. Another way to clear up credit card debt specifically is through a personal loan. Now, I have seen some scary interest rates with personal loans in South Africa, so be very, very careful. I have seen personal loans with higher interest rates than credit card interest rates, and that is scary. You don't want to be taking a 30% loan to paying off a credit card with a 20% interest. You better off with the credit card. Although paying off your credit card is a smart financial strategy, you got to be wise with how you do it. So if you shop around, you can find personal loans with fairly decent rates, hopefully better interest rates than what you're paying currently, and you can consider a consolidation loan at one financial institution while closing off your other consumer debt and credit cards. Now, because a personal loan is an installment loan, its balance to limit ratio doesn't hurt your credit in any way. Its balance to credit ratio doesn't really hurt your credit the way revolving credit does. So, paying off your credit card debt with an installment loan could significantly boost your credit, especially if you don't already have any installment loans on your credit reports. And it could also save you money if you're getting a good interest rate as well. Now, if you are committed to paying down your debt, I want you to keep these points in mind. You got to keep your credit cards open. Don't close your credit cards. Just pay it off. Unless you have the annual fees that are really killing you and you don't really want to pay them, then you can close them. But keep them open. Mainly because you can use the credit card wisely again to up your credit score. Also, cut back on credit card spending. Don't spend any more money on your paid off credit card. If you must, hide them or cut them up. And you got to be a responsible borrower. Make regular punctual payments on your installment loan. If you don't, you'll just create more problems for your credit. Then you can start paying off debt through the debt counselor route, where you seek the protection of a debt counselor who will negotiate on your behalf with the various people that you owe money to. And a lot of the times, the debt counselor, they're able to greatly reduce the interest rates. However, this does come at the price. You don't have any access to credit until you're up to date with your payments. So while you do enjoy the protection, you are limiting yourself in that way. Now, I haven't personally gone through this route, so I can't really thoroughly advise you. You're going to get the right person to come on and talk to us more about debt counseling, but you do have that alternative. And before you even go that route, ask all the questions that you need to ask. I've heard some scary stories about debt counselors who've been receiving money from their clients and haven't been settling the debt. And the client is left in an even worse shape than he started off from actually seeing a debt counselor. So before you it gets that bad where you have to go see a debt counselor, try and get things under control with your debt. All right, so don't forget to join me this Thursday. I'm going to give you some live examples about the debt avalanche and the debt snowball method are right here on our YouTube channel, Financially Fabulous Females. So until next week, I'll chat to you soon. And don't forget, link up with us on our various social media platforms, Financially Fabulous Females. You have a fabulous week.
Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to visit our website at www.financiallyfabulousfemales.com and sign up for our free investment masterclass.